See, when my first daughter, Ariella, was born, it was the start of the global shutdown. And I had a choice to make. Am I going to live a life of mediocrity and give that to them? Or am I going to find a way to live a life that most people can only dream of excellence, something to be proud of, that this is what I've built. Coming from a third world country, coming from poverty, I was able to build something like this. Most people told me that being a new dad is going to be very stressful and you got to take the safe route. I chose not to take the safe route, and we're all better off for it. But you have to understand that when I tried to go against what was calling to me, that's where I really started to lose myself. I was so focused on, well, how do I be present with my wife? She's got the baby in the tummy, baby's on the way. How do I balance that with work? And what happened was, because I kept listening to the noise of the world, I kept listening to people that were unsuccessful in terms of how I viewed them. I was listening to them and they were pulling me to this mediocre state, that I needed this balance. And every time I tried to seek balance, it felt like I went off balance, because as business pulled me one direction, I kept going against that, trying to achieve balance. And because of that, then I would give to my family, but then I'd be so distracted because I wanted to balance working, hustling, building the thing that was going to secure safety and security, especially in a world of chaos, literally, world of chaos. And that's the guilt that we can feel as fathers, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, that we're trying our best for our family, but we also have to be present for the family, because it kind of doesn't make any sense to say that we're doing all of these things, we're building business, we're making money, we're making changes for the family. It doesn't really make sense to say that, and then on the other side of it, not see them, to neglect them. And so you got to understand that you're killing yourself trying to balance this thing when it's not balance that you need. It's not balance that's going to get you to break through. It's not balance that's going to give you the ability to grow business while being present. The more you battle this, the more it's going to hurt. And the more you do this, the more you're going to be distracted. You're going to be in a state of limbo. And eventually, as your kids grow older, they're still going to feel like they didn't get enough of you. They didn't get the best of you. Because while you were in business, you felt so guilty because you weren't with family, that you didn't do the work. You didn't push yourself to achieve greatness. And when you're with your family, because you weren't pushing yourself to achieve greatness in your business, you're always distracted with them. And that's not a way to live. And that's what happens when people try to balance things, work-life balance. And the more that I did that, what happened was I kept having this emotional turmoil as we led closer and closer to my daughter being born. And when she was born, man, like, it felt like I was so behind on building a safety net, a security, that the first year I wasn't as present as I am today, because now we have another daughter, Alessia, and she just turned 1. And this time around, it's very different because of the lessons that I've learned. So I really want you to pay attention, because we never get that time back. And you got to start asking yourself, don't you get tired of the guilt trip that your wife doesn't give you, your kids don't give it to you, but you give you? You got to shift the mentality, because that first year of birth for my firstborn, and there's a lot of times that I missed because I was so caught up in emotional distress. I was so caught up in my head that as much as I thought I was present, I wasn't. And that's why I want you to understand that as you kind of move forward away from the world of work-life balance, the more that you kind of think about, well, if I'm going to give time to my family, if I'm going to give time to my kids, quality versus quantity, which one do I have to choose? Which one do I have to give? Do I give them quality time, less time, but it's quality time? Or do I give them quantity time, but less quality because I'm distracted? See, this is the thing that people think they have to choose from, just like work-life balance. Do I have to choose work? Do I have to choose life? Do I choose quality? Do I choose quantity? It doesn't have to be that way. There's no choice that has to be made in those spaces, but you have to allow yourself to think different. And this is when I started to realize that I was actually holding myself back because I was building my first business and it required me to be on camera. It required me to be on Zoom calls. It required me to be on phone calls. And I used to feel like I was doing something wrong or I was being unprofessional if I had my daughter with me or if I had my wife in the background or family was happening behind the scenes. Then one day I realized, why am I so worried and concerned about how this looks? My family needs me right now. And if they're walking around behind me, what's so unprofessional about that? We're in the middle of a global shutdown. Everybody's remote. This doesn't make any sense. Why am I doing this to myself? Then I started to realize that I was overcomplicating the whole thing. I was trying to make a choice when no choice had to be made. And that's when I started changing everything. I started to actually involve my family during my times of work, but I had to look at things different. I obviously had to still perform. I had to put food on the table, absolutely. But what I did was when I made that realization, I stopped trying to balance work and life. And instead, I started to integrate my family into my purpose, the thing that was calling to me. I wanted to build a better life for them. So I involved them more. I wanted to show them what's possible, what their dad, what their husband was willing to do for them. So I involved them more. Everything that I did had to do with my family now. I started to understand how to be a family man. And mind you, I didn't really have that great of an example of what it means for a father to involve his kids like that. It's a story for another time. But that's when everything changed. See, when you keep choosing and you keep trying to choose, you're going to let somebody down. Think about it like this. Last time you had an email, a Slack message, a text message from work, and your kids wanted to play. Were you checking your phone? Were you thinking about checking your phone? Were you thinking about work that was potentially going to hit your phone? So you had to have it around. You had to just slide it into your pocket while you played and while you were present. It's a different way. You got to learn how to compartmentalize everything. Because if you learn to compartmentalize, then you can have it all. Because you're willing to be it all, but you have to stretch yourself more. Right? You have to stretch yourself that if it's not balance that I have to seek, but integration, well, what happens when I start merging work and life? What does that look like? Well, now I'm going to have two things emotionally calling to me, one pulling me one direction, one pulling me the other. How do I not get frustrated at one or the other? And that's what it means to be a present father. That's what it means to be a strong man. It's learning how to operate with those different variables and understanding that at the end of the day, even if that business of yours goes away, your kids, your wife, they will be there. So show them. If you're working really hard or you're doing a deal or you're growing the business, why not have your son, your daughter there to see you in action? Because you probably look like a superhero to them if you allow it to be that way. And the cool part about this is, as Ariella, my 4-year-old now, she started getting older. She has this little baby phone, this little pink little thing, and it has a little strap so it doesn't fall off her hand. And she used to start holding it up to her ear. And then we realized what she was doing. She was modeling me. She was closing deals on her phone because I'm a closer. And we didn't know what was happening. She just kept doing this with her phone. And she started to emulate what I was doing. And that's when I realized I was teaching her skill sets without even realizing it. So every time I was on the phone, every time I was talking with clients, every time I was helping somebody, she would see that as dad helping somebody. She would see that as dad closing a deal. She would start to model all of these good things and all these attributes I didn't even realize that she was even paying attention to, because normally when she's in the office, she's just playing. But sometimes, just like taught in the Marine Corps, if you do the right thing, even when nobody's watching, you have to understand somebody's always watching at the end of the day. She's walking in right now. So you got to ask yourself, and you see her running, what if your business can actually make you a better father? What if you could do things like this and you can have your daughter run into the room and she just lays there watching you, seeing what you're doing, what you're creating. And now she has somebody to model. She can see your work ethic. She can hear your message. She can hear your impact. If only I knew that, because Ariel is the one that ran in here. And I didn't really start to understand these lessons until about 1 to 2 years of birth. So I really started to understand that time was moving quick. I want you to imagine when you integrate work and life, family and business in the right ways, and you control the chaos, you lead by example. I want you to imagine your kids seeing the work that you do, the purpose that you're driven by as part of their legacy, and not just a distraction. You want to say hi, baby? No? Too shy? And if you can understand that these are things that they're going to take with them. These are going to be skill sets that she's going to take with her. She's going to understand how to communicate. She's going to understand how to carry herself. She already is comfortable at a desk. She's already comfortable on camera. Imagine if, as she grows, as your children grow, they have that in their mind as who they remember their father to be. So let's talk about application. Let's talk about how you can apply this into your life. Okay, the first thing that you have to understand is you have to have a morning ritual. You have to have the ability to create time and space for yourself. This is where you can journal. This is where you can meditate. This is where you can pray. This is where you can really spend time with yourself, so that way you create time to think, to create, to battle plan. And just like this, integrating business moments, whether you're on a sales call, a meeting, the more you incorporate your children, notice she's not crying. She's not bothering me. She's here. She understands what dad's doing. Do you know what dad's doing, baby? Integration. And I challenge you to be aware that maybe the first time around, second time around, third time around, it's not going to be as easy. Maybe they're not used to this a new environment, but as time progresses, just like all things, they will learn, they will understand. They will understand how to carry themselves in these situations. Just like right now, you see my daughter, she knows how to play next to me. She knows how to be present without interruption, because over time she's learned how to integrate into what I do on a daily basis. And if you can take all of these things as learning lessons and teach, that's the most important thing. Because you teach them how to carry themselves. You teach them how to think about scenarios and situations. You teach them the proper etiquette and how to carry themselves. Now, all of these things start becoming the legacy. This is what you pass on to generations. Now, at 4 years old, she's been on more closing calls. She's been on more meetings. She's worked with more clients. She's done more podcasts. She's done more videos. She's done so much more at 4 years old than I did for almost 3 decades of my life. And it's a beautiful thing. But at the same time, just like right after this, we have to have boundaries. We have to create digital boundaries where dad's not always on the computer. Dad's not always on his phone. You got to be able to create space that you're not on social media, you're not working, you're not checking Slack, you're not doing the next text message, email, deal, proposal, whatever the case might be. Just like I said right before this, we just finished playing in the snow. It's her first time seeing the snow. You have to know when to cut work off. You got to know when to cut social media off. You got to know that as long as you have a plan that you follow on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, you can have it all. You just got to be willing to stretch yourself. So if you're ready to stop killing yourself, trying to balance these things, if you're ready to stop killing your legacy with trying to do what mediocre people do, which is this lie of work-life balance, here's what I want you to do right now. Number one, if this has opened your eyes in any shape, way, or form, like and subscribe to this channel. But number two, I want you to end this and go hang out with your kids. Go hang out with your wife. Go play in the snow. Go to the beach. Whatever season it is for you, for where you're at. Unplug. Spend time with your kids. Spend time with your family. Spend time with the people that matter the most. And just see how much more energized you feel. And just imagine a year from now, when they're a little bit older, imagine how much closer you're going to be with them. You ready to play in the snow again? And imagine just having the life that you've always dreamed of because you earned it. You put in the work and you led from the front. As I said, if this has opened your eyes, like this video, share this video with another brother that needs to hear this message. Subscribe to the channel so that we can keep hearing more messages like this. And again, as soon as this ends, put the phone down, put the laptop down, put the computer down, go spend time with your kids, go spend time with your wife, go love on your family. I'll see you in the next one. Say bye-bye, baby.